So, of course, the subject that you've all tuned in for today for our virtual hug event is automated sales engagement and also unpacking the awesome new and improved Service Hub. Which we're looking forward to. Don't forget the hashtag if you want to share anything. It's hashtag HugANZ. That's hashtag HugANZ. My name's Tony East, Chief Strategy Officer for Sorted Stone. I'll give you a quick intro to Sorted Stone if you haven't heard of us before in a second. Gabe McCarthy is our marketing strategist based in Sydney, and also joining us from the lovely part of the world, live from Boston, where it's, I think, 8:30 or 9 o'clock now in the evening, is the wonderful Gail Wheaton, who is the HubSpot Director of Go-to-Market and Product Strategy. Welcome, Gail.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Terrific. All right, so let's have a look a little bit about Sorted Stone, just very, very quickly. I'm not going to take up too much time, but we're a global agency. We're a HubSpot Elite partner, which is great to be in that kind of top area. Been a partner of HubSpot since 2014. Seems like a decade or so. It probably is a decade ago, almost a decade ago. Founded back in 2008. 90 plus in-house team members around the globe. We are coming to you from Sydney in Australia. We also have an office in Perth. We have a dedicated dev team in Cebu in the Philippines. And then we also have offices throughout the US, not just Los Angeles on the West Coast, but we've also got some, because of COVID, I think people spread a little bit more. So we actually have a team across North America, including Boise, right through to the East Coast in Washington, DC, and also in Dublin in EMEA. So a quick intro, if it is your first hug, welcome along. We give you a virtual hug. It's HubSpot user groups is what this is all about. We try and do these once every 2 to 3 months. So if you enjoy this one, then look out for the next one. Bring your friends. The bigger the hug, the better. Let's have a look at our agenda for today. So quick welcome, set the scene. That's my job. Then we're going to work into HubSpot tips and tricks. So Gabe's put together a nice little presentation for you. If you are already a HubSpot user, fantastic. You're going to find some interesting information about closing deals using automation and getting more out of your workflows. If you're yet to be a user of HubSpot, maybe you're here today just to see, well, what is this HubSpot thing and what can I do for my business? Then the HubSpot tips and tricks will actually help you as well. Have a look at some of the things that may help your business function or grow. Then we go under the hood with Gail for 20 minutes. We're going to have a deep dive into the awesome new features of Service Hub that were released, I think, at around Inbound last year, and then jump into a live demo so you can actually see the software in action. Panel discussion Q&A for 20 minutes. So that's the big part at the end. Please use the Q&A tab. I'm sure you're used to this now. We've been Zooming for so long now. Put any questions you want at any point of today's presentation straight into the Q&A section. And then when we get into the panel discussion, we can talk about those. They don't have to be related to Service Hub or any of the tips and tricks that Gabe's going to be. You might be having an issue or a problem or a challenge or want to know more about HubSpot. Whatever's on your mind today, whack it into that Q&A because it's a really good interactive 20 minutes if we get a lot of questions and conversation happening. Okay, so just to set the scene, why are we here? One of the big things, and we talk about this a lot, is customer experience suffers without alignment. Some stats here just to kind of get us on the right frame of mind. 66% of customers expect companies nowadays to understand their needs. So if you're not using a good, solid software backend to kind of try and understand the customer journey and who the customers are, then you're kind of going to be creating a bit of friction there. And the other fact, which is quite scary actually, customer-centric companies are 60% more profitable than companies that aren't. So being customer-centric is so important in today's economy, and you're going to be more profitable if you do it. So most of those disruptive companies that we're talking about are actually winning on this thing called customer experience, which is why we're going to be talking about Service Hub, which is all about fantastic customer experience. If you're not looking at customer experience, you're probably still delivering things in the old buying way, which just doesn't work anymore. People are just frustrated, including ourselves, because we're also customers. When you click on an advertisement, you got to then fill in a form, and then you sit while some kind of CRM in the background routes your query, and then eventually someone may call you. But all this time is ticking, whereas people are in the now today. Like they want to be able to self-select, self-service, and at least have people get back to them in a good time frame, not this clunky kind of way of doing business. So we're going to show you more stuff about how to do it, create that customer experience, and remove the friction. How you sell matters more than what you sell. And this has become the big kind of underlying message for us, is really that it doesn't matter how good our product is, if it's cumbersome and clunky to sell, it's not easy for people to sell, it's not a 24/7. We talk about this fast, flat, and free model, which is really just, you know, how quickly can I get the information I need and get access to the product that I might need? How flat, how easy is it for me to navigate and go through? And then can I try before I buy? HubSpot do this very well with their freemiumware. Like, how can I try something before I have to sign on the dotted line? All in all, like what we're trying to do here, this is the bigger picture of kind of inbound flow, and really what we're trying to find is, with strangers coming to websites and some of our content that we have out there, we want to get the traffic in, we want to convert the leads and qualify those leads earlier on as we go through the nurturing process. So by the time they get to our sales team, we've got so much intel on them, it makes it easier to continue that conversation. As prospects, we want to learn from them. We want to connect quickly, as we were saying before. We don't want to make it clunky. We want to get back to them and service them quicker, nurture those relationships with the right content at the right time, and educate prospects, you know, because they're there to learn and they're there to, you know, move across the buyer journey at their speed. And then finally, gathering that customer feedback so we can continue to delight them, which is that delight stage. And this is where Service Hub comes in again, deliver exceptional service. Ultimately, it's going to help us increase upsells and cross sales and referrals. And then once we kind of get these really good advocates for our brand, we want to constantly engage with the promoters so they go around and tell more people. So more strangers come through, more prospects come through. It's like a never-ending circle. And there is the circle, attracting new customers, from delighting your current customers and turning them into promoters. As you can see here, this is all of the hubs, if you like, under HubSpot: Operations Hub, CMS Hub, Marketing Hub, Service Hub, and Sales Hub, and how they all fit together around, you know, data coming in. Again, Operations Hub helping us really clean that data and getting us good data in. The content that we do through CMS and Marketing Hub, messaging that continues into automation, Service Hub, as you can see there, Sales Hub then bringing us back into reporting, and around we go, more data comes in. So today, next slide, we're going to be talking about, on this wonderful circle, Service Hub. There it is. So, you know, each and every one of these, we do focus on sales enablement. So we tend to spend a little bit of time around Sales Hub and Marketing Hub because it all leads into that. But Service Hub today, from a sales perspective, if you're in the sales area of a business, is about how we're going to help you increase referrals, increase opportunities to sell more products, returning customers, all of the things that help your business grow, not just that first time sale. Cool. Next slide. It is time to hand over to Gabe, who's going to give us some HubSpot tips and tricks.
Certainly will. Thanks, Tony. And thanks for all that intro bit. Really set the scene there, and I appreciate it. So just a bit of background on myself. My name's Gabe. I'm one of the strategists here for Salterstone, and I work here at APAC within the Sydney office. So today I'm going to share with you in a few things that I've been experiencing, in particular working through HubSpot for a better half of 7 or 8 years now, and seen it evolve and seen it how it's evolved with the ever-changing landscape that is, you know, making sure that everything is kept to the customer experience, and how the customer changes along with what you do when it comes to using things like Service Hub, which is primarily what we're focusing in on today. One of the first key tips and tricks that I'm going to lead into is going to be around closing deals using automation. And I wanted to start off with just this slide, which kind of lays the land of what it really means to consider automation when it comes to closing deals, and how you as a sales team and service team and marketing team all primarily work together as a unified unit. Like, a lot of people think that it is segregated, it is different. However, I want to sort of change that mindset for anyone who's considering that, you know, your sales team and service team are somehow separate from each other. And in that, I want to pose this as the sales team looking at not just zeroing in on your pipeline every day. Obviously, there are great sales tools within the HubSpot CRM. That's primarily where it started off. So those tools are very robust and bespoke. However, a lot of sales team often neglect the fact that a lot of these service tools and a lot of the marketing tools as well do focus in on how you can be using them day to day and allow you to further delight the customer at every step of the way. So I want to take you in a few tips and tricks on how that revolves. Primarily, keeping in mind too, in terms of this slide, how the CRM is your friend. Okay, like I mentioned before, for the sales team, your deals and whatnot all sit, within the CRM on your pipeline. However, there is always and always will be this 360-degree view of your contacts, which you should be taking advantage of. And some of the tips I'll go through with how to use Service Hub more effectively, or probably will cover that. And also keeping in mind to what Tony was alluding to before about how the flywheel, you should always keep that spinning. Always have the thought in mind that whatever, something that affects sales, affects service, affects marketing, they're not intrinsically apart, they are together, and they all center around the customer throughout their whole entire life cycle stage, from the moment they're attracted to the moment they start getting delighted and becoming promoters for your business. And then that obviously leads into them promoting more strangers, and therefore the flywheel keeps turning. And that's how, in the mindset, we should be keeping things. So first tip is talking about then triaging conversations. So as we've seen recently, HubSpot Service Hub has had a major sort of upgrade. And I've just noted there that primarily a lot of them are centered around the starter, professional, or enterprise level of HubSpot. So if you're looking to use some of these tools, you're probably going to have to look beyond sort of the free version for now. However, there's still quite a few available within the freemium version that we've talked about before. But things like triaging conversations, these days you can, with HubSpot and with many other tools, integrate things like your Facebook Messenger account, chatbots, obviously email is a key one, as well as online forms still. A lot of people think of these as being separate avenues for conversations. However, how HubSpot is structured in terms of its conversation tool, as you can see down below where the arrow is pointing towards, you can have all these elements go into the one location in terms of conversations. And then from there, the triaging can begin, not just from a manual perspective of, obviously it depends on the size of your company, if manual is easier than automation. However, if you are a large company and requiring automation for that triaging of conversations to occur, then using conversations for having that happen is a really key point of difference for your business. Tip 2, sort of using then other points of the conversation tool. You can see that you've got at the top there from the previous slide in conversations inbox, but then you can see that as I was pointing out before, the sales team, the support team, there could be a knowledge team, a tech writers team, there could be many different teams that can all be funneled into this one conversation location in the tool. And then the triaging can begin. So if there is at any point from any of those touch points we saw before, Facebook or chatbot or even a form online, whatever that conversation starts up from can all be put into here and then pointed towards the appropriate team. So if somebody's, asking on Facebook about a product, and it sounds like more of like a sales call, then have some sort of triaging automation in place within your conversations tool to basically reroute that to the sales team and then have the appropriate salesperson continue that conversation, as opposed to like the support team, which, obviously wouldn't be a good matchup. And then to further that way of keeping things unified and making sure that the conversation is consistent across all teams, which is hugely important to make sure that everyone is speaking the same language. You've got here this lovely handy thing within your conversations tool called snippets. Now, snippets can be, and I've noted there as well, something that is obviously a uniform way of communicating. You go hashtag, whatever the appropriate name of the hashtag is, it populates within snippets there the conversation piece that is pre-set, so that it's the same thing that you're saying each time to these similar inquiries or conversations you're having. However, you can now triage those snippet conversations between the relevant teams and make sure that those teams as well within their user settings have only access to those particular snippet conversations versus them having all the conversations available to them. So you don't have the confusion of like sales conversations and snippets happening within a support inbox, as an example there. So making sure that you have your snippets well categorized and then having those permissions well categorized as well between the teams, hugely important tip I would recommend when triaging conversations in your conversation inbox. Because ultimately the CRM equals context, as we talked about before and with that previous slide about keeping everything customer-centric, and then conversations, that equals contextual team triaging. So no matter what is occurring within your HubSpot CRM, the context of that contact is always available. However, when you're looking at conversations, the contextual team triaging is really key to having those correct conversations each time. And noted there as well as a little tip there is that super admins, and it's just, by the by kind of note to have, that they have permissions to see everything in the CRM at all times, super admins. So be sure at the beginning when you're bringing in certain teams to map out internally what tools are relevant per user and per team to avoid any communication errors. So that's the first point there, the first tip and trick. The next point I was going to get into now is getting more out of your workflow. So this kind of folds in from that previous stuff I was talking about. So in terms of the mindset for this one, not all chatbots need human intervention to work well, and that's primarily what automation solves or aims to solve. Workflows, in an essence, like if you haven't used workflows before, primarily only really exist within the professional tools for HubSpot. So if you are looking to move to a professional level, you will have access to workflows and automation that can be across not only marketing stuff, but sales and deals, as well as your ticketing system as well, which is why it's so important to have workflows across all your hubs so that you're able to triage conversations between things that are marketing, sales, and service related. And conversational support funnels these days are so much more intrinsic than they used to be. You can have certain funnels that are more proactive, self-serving, or have, as we've known them to be for a long time, mostly a human-serving way of working. So these days now we point towards more the automation side of things, and these are real game changers as we've noted them as here. Chatbots these days can be fully automated within a really well mapped out user journey. And that's why it's key then to have a look at this particular types of tips around automative behavior. So automating your behavior is a key way to make sure that that triaging occurs seamlessly. There's 3 examples I've given here. One is to cover if you have a pre-existing client, for example, who for some reason uses one of those tools to communicate with you online. They might, message you via Facebook or a chatbot or whatever. Having a automation in place that says if this person exists already within a certain engagement type in our system, so if they're marked as being someone that's on a retainer or a client that we have on a retainer, have a workflow immediately automate our response back to the account manager of that particular client, so that they can see that conversation happening wherever it might be happening, and they're not blindsided to that conversation, and they get brought into it straight away and can basically follow up immediately on that, versus then someone in support or sales trying to figure out whose client is this, who should I redirect them to, etc. So that's one example there. The other example here is more based around sales. So, if you've got a particular deal within a pipeline and you have somebody with online again, does some sort of notification through a form or for a chatbot, you can have an automation based upon this behavior where if that occurs, immediately notify the sales channel consultant or the sales rep or whoever is in charge of that particular deal to follow them up immediately. And that way you don't lose people outside of that funnel. And then finally, there is the ticket inquiry delayed response, which is a really key one for the service team. So if there is, I mean, can be bespoke to whatever time period, but say, for example, it takes more than 10 minutes for a conversation to continue from a ticket that is raised through the support network, then it can be immediately flagged to the leader of that particular group of support channel to be notified, and then follow it up personally from their end, or find out why the conversation hasn't continued after a 10-minute delay. And Tony should tell me the wrap up, so I will by just giving one quick example about how we did this for a client of ours called ResMed, which we love. And we work together on their buyer journey, as you can see here, mapping things out quite physically on a wall here at their office. As Salted Stone, we love to get nitty gritty on every single little bit of detail when it comes to the buyer journey. So we did this for them, and that led to here mapping out then their email and SMS nurtures through their automated communications, so that their clients and whatnot were fully pleased. And you can see that through the results here. The conversation rates from lead gen offers 25 to 40% increase. Organization-wide digital transformation occurred across the board, across all departments, and there was an improved data management and alignment across marketing, sales, and service across the board as well. So we improved long-term lead to customer conversion rates and customer lifetime value exponentially by doing this practice. So that's me. That was a lot to say. I guess I'll pass it back over to Mr. Eads.
Hey, but some very good tips there for you. Just a quick reminder, we will be sharing these slides with you and a recording. So anything you want to go over that Gabe's just covered, you can. But if it's prompted any questions, if you'd like to know anything more about some of those tips, then throw them into the Q&A for a discussion at the end. And also, after we jump into Gail's presentation in a second and we go into the panel discussion, there is going to be a cool little offer for you as well. So hang around for that, as well as that hefty discussion that we're going to have hopefully towards the back end of today's Prezzo. So right now, it's my pleasure to cross over live to Boston in the beautiful US, home of HubSpot Inbound. I think it's a hybrid event this year, so we're starting to get back to that personal interaction that we love. But HubSpot's Director of Go-to-Market and Product Strategy, Gail Wheaton, over to you to take us into Service Hub.
Thank you so much for the intro. Yes, I am here, and I'm the Director of Go-to-Market at Service Hub. I've been at HubSpot now for 3 years and on Service Hub for 2 years. And it is a very exciting place to be. We relaunched the Hub on March 15th. So we have a ton of new features, and I will walk through how we think about those features, how we think about product development, and then I will jump into a demo so we can get started. Cool. So, and also feel free to ask questions in the chat. I'm happy to answer them on the fly as I'm going through this. And also, Tony, let me know how I'm doing on time. Okay, so the way that we think about Service Hub and about our product development is in these 3 buckets. The first is easy to use help desk. So this speaks to what Gabe showed before with that conversations inbox. This is where you're going to be answering all your conversations, where you're going to be responding. We're trying to make it so easy to use and easy to love, because when you're a service rep, you don't want a clunky tool. You want something where you can just do your job quickly and then get on to the next thing, because customers are expecting you to quickly respond. So we want to make it very easy to use. The second thing that we think about is omni-channel functionality. So customers want to interact with companies on the phone, email, chat, SMS, WhatsApp. And so we're working really hard to make sure that we're incorporating these new channels as they become more popular, and also enabling companies to bring their own channels. And then lastly, we've got CRM powered automation. So this is very unique to HubSpot. Everything is built on this CRM platform. So Service Hub does not sit in a silo. Any of the data that we get for Service Hub, for example, feedback surveys, which I'll show you, can be then leveraged for your sales and marketing teams to follow up with the right customers, to follow up with the right segments, etc. So that's really unique in that, we have automation, but it's powered by the CRM, and you've got that 360 view of the customer. All right. And so I will just, high level on these features, and then I'll show you them in the demo. So in the help desk, the crux of it is this shared inbox that I will spend a lot of time on when I'm presenting to you. Then we've got SLAs. This is a new feature with the relaunch to make sure that you're answering customer questions within the SLA that you have with a company. You've got custom views in the inbox, so you can kind of set up the inbox in whatever way works for teams or reps. You've got a knowledge base, so customers can self-service, customer portal, so they can self-serve again. And then, of course, you've got reporting and playbooks to coach your reps as you're helping the team scale. On the omnichannel functionality side, we've got email, chat, Facebook Messenger. We just launched inbound calling. This is going to get way better over time. We just have a V1 now, so that's very exciting. Conversational intelligence, agent presence, channel switching, and conversations API beta. That's the ability to import data right now, and then soon you'll have the ability to export data in early 2023. And then we've got this CRM powered automation with chatbots, ticket pipeline, ticket automation, CX surveys, custom surveys. We just launched at Inbound last year. And then post chat feedback. You can gather feedback right through the chat window, and a new field service integration for any folks who are working on that. Yeah, Fiona, I will let Gabe answer your question as I start to pull up the demo. And go ahead, Gabe.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Gail. So the question was, if you're keeping an eye on chat, it came from Fiona. Can Service Hub handle multiple inboxes? We have multiple support email addresses to cater for very large clients. In short, yes. In long, depends on what you require. Obviously, there are a few limitations, but you can ultimately connect up multiple inboxes. It just depends on what those inboxes entail and where the initial conversations are drawn from. So that's the long and short of it there, Fiona. But yeah, happy to talk more about that later. Or direct email. Yeah, correct. It can too as well.
Thank you. And can everyone see my screen now? Okay. All right. Perfect. I am seeing another question, and Gabe, I'm going to let you take this as I start to do the demo. And then I can look at that at the end, just because it's a pretty long one, if that works.
Yeah, well, maybe we'll save it for the end, Gail. But that's
okay.
Just save it for the panel, I think. But please, everyone, put Q&As in there if you've got anything, and we'll chat after Gabe's. After Gail's managed to do all the live stuff, which is always like everything that you need to.
All right, thanks. Leader aside. Okay, perfect. Okay, so what I am showing you now, you're likely familiar with the screen if you're using Marketing and Sales Hub, and I'm showing you the Conversations inbox. So I'm going to walk you through a high level, and then I'll get into some more details. And what I want to make sure to hit on in this demo is that it's easy to use, it's omni-channel, and it's connected to the CRM. So those three buckets that I showed on the earlier slide. So the conversation inbox, the general layout is that you've got all of your tickets and different ways that you can view tickets over here. And then within a particular view, you can see all the conversations that are listed there. And then within a particular group of conversations, you can see the entire thread of one conversation. So if you scroll up, you can see all the history of this thread. And then on the very right, this is where it's connected to the CRM. So whoever this contact is, you're going to see all the information about the contact, what company they're from, any past feedback, any open tickets, deals, etc. So this is like really, really helpful if you're working with sales and marketing, because all of that data is here. So if I'm a customer service rep, for example, and I see that they have a very high dollar deal, then I know that that might be a VIP customer, and maybe I have a different protocol for that type of customer. That's just one example. So getting into some details, this is the custom views that I mentioned before. So not only do you have these like generic views over here, is it coming from chat? Is it open? Is it assigned to me? But I can set up a view that's specific to what I am good at or what I'm focused on. So I am applying particular features here, which is the owner is me, and the category is anything that is a billing issue, because I'm the billing expert. So when those conversations come in chat, they're going to be automatically routed to my conversations view here. And then I can work through all of the conversations kind of like a queue. So this is like a way to get things going faster and easier for me. The second thing I want to show you here, and I'll show you the automation right after this, is that all of the conversations, all of the information is going to live on one thread. So this conversation started with a bot, and then the person said, I want to learn about pricing. And they said, thanks, I've connected you with someone from our sales team to help. And then it happens to be me. So it came to my view. And so now I can chat back and I can say hi. And if the customer is there, they could chat back to me. Or let's say like the chat is getting complicated, or the customer wants to leave and go have lunch. And so they say, email me. And I can say hi via email. And I'm going to send that. And you're going to see it's all on the same thread. The other thing that I can do for email for like ease of use and efficiency features is I can put in snippets, quotes, documents, meeting links, knowledge base articles, all here. I can use hashtags. I have one set up, but I'm forgetting what it is now. So let's see, password reset. There we go. And then it just prompts, you know, what I might be writing out 100 times a day, but I can do that with like 2 seconds. And then I send it and it's still on that same thread. The other thing you can do here is actually call the person if they want to call you on the phone, and the record of that call is going to be listed here. So when we say omni-channel, we're talking about getting all the channels on one thread. So as a service rep, I've got all the information here. If anyone else needs to come into this conversation, it's all listed here historically. A couple other helpful features are like how you communicate with your teammates. So I can mention my colleague. He's not online right now, but I might say like, you know, I need help with this conversation. And so if he were to respond to me, it would all be in this yellow templated thing, and all that makes me know that I am just talking to my colleague right now. I am not talking to the customer. And then I can go back to the customer and I can say, I have the answer. And you'll see that that now is just the response to the customer and not to my colleague. And so the other thing, which you can't see because he's not online, but there would be a little green button here that'll let me know that he is online. It actually looks like let's see where he is. I am not seeing him here, but many people are available with this little green button, and some people are away. And so that's helpful when you're trying to figure out who you should ask a question to. So that's it for conversation. So you've got all the different views, you've got this queue to work out of, and then you've got all the omni-channel capabilities here. And then, Tony, how am I doing on time? Do I have like?
You have 8 minutes.
Okay. All right, cool. So, to 9:45. Okay. So if you had a particular issue that was like hard and you wanted to track it over time, you might use tickets instead of conversations. And when you do that, you get this nice Kanban view, and you can move tickets from one status to another. And you can also set the statuses up here. So you can customize these in any ways that you want. And the ticket looks very similar to the conversation in that you've got the information about the ticket on the left, all of the thread for the ticket, emails, calls, etc., right in the center, and then the CRM information on the right-hand side. And here, one thing I like to call out is playbooks, which is, if I have a question, if I'm a new rep and I don't know the answer or how to deal with a customer issue, there can be a playbook here that helps me with that. And so instead of going to my manager, I can review this playbook, and that can help me on my call. So that is the conversation and ticketing. And now I'm going to move us over to automation. There's two types of automation: chat flows and workflows. I'll do chat flows first. That is really nice to show. And then I'll do workflows a little more quickly. There's a ton of different chatbot templates that you can use. There's this one just happens to be a generic chatbot. It says basically, hi, who are you? What's your name? What's your email? And what are you most interested in learning about? And then depending on how the person answers, they're going to route me to the right place. So if it is about pricing, it's going to go to my custom view. If it's about support, it's going to go to someone else's custom view. And so I can actually preview this over here. What's your name? What is your email? And then what do you want to do? I want to learn about pricing. And this is saying no one is available, but when they are, they will get back to you as soon as possible. And so what should have happened is in my inbox, and I don't think that this is showing up right now because I'm technically not online because it's almost 10 p.m. my time. But what would happen if I were online in the morning is that you would get a conversation showing up right here that would be routed into my view. And then workflows happen they look very similar. So there's different folders for your workflows. I have one built out for how to escalate a ticket. Gabe showed this earlier. So if you're using workflows, you can use it for marketing, for sales, for service, and you can just create this logic that says, here's what I want to do when, if I want to escalate a ticket, then I want to pin a note to the top of the ticket, and I want it to go to these particular reps to help with the ticket, and I want to send them a notification in Slack. So these can be as basic or as complicated as you want them to be. There's a lot that can be done here, and it helps folks save time and customers get answers faster. So two more parts. The last part of automation that I really like to show is the feedback surveys. This is very unique to HubSpot in that surveys are built into the tool and it's not an add-on. So we've always had these surveys. We've had the customer effort score, customer satisfaction, customer loyalty. We just launched custom surveys, which has a ton of flexibility in the way in which you ask questions and get answers last year. And you can also automate, I'm just trying to find the right survey. You can also automate your survey. Sorry about this. There's like a bunch of surveys that are here now. That didn't used to be here. Give me 1 second. Here we go. 30 days post sale. This is the one that I want to show you. So you can build automation on this. I'm going to edit the survey. And what I see is that this is the survey that I've built out, which is, hey, anytime I have a sale, follow up with this customer 30 days afterwards and tell me how they're doing. And then the automation is set up so that if they are unhappy, if they respond and say that they're not happy, then that's going to go to an account manager, and that account manager can follow up with them. Same as if they're neutral. And if they're happy, and I happen to be using Sales Hub as well, you can route it to that sales owner, and the sales owner can like try to cross-sell or upsell them. And again, they have all the information on the customer because they're using the same tools at HubSpot. So that's like a very powerful connection between sales and service and service and marketing. So the last two things are self-service. So we've got knowledge base and customer portal. For the knowledge base, what it looks like is an FAQ for your customers, 2 minutes. You can post a bunch of information on here so that, you know, when folks don't want to talk to a customer support rep, they can self-service. And the other thing that is very cool is you get reporting based on what customers are doing on your knowledge base. So you can see which articles are the most popular. What are people searching for where they're not getting results? And what you can do with that is like, you know, create content because you know customers want that, but also tell your marketing and your sales teams about these, because clearly customers are very interested in them. So maybe you should be creating marketing content on them, or have the sales team ensure that they can speak to them for customers. Customer portal is new. And this is what a customer portal looks like. So what you will see is, give me one more second. What you will see, I'm going to go back to the right portal, is a place where customers can view all their tickets. So you can look by the status, you can see just your tickets, the tickets for the entire organization. This is like a huge ask from our customers and really important for self-service. And so we just launched that 2 months ago. And then the last thing that I want to show you before I have to wrap up is analytics tools. We've got service analytics. And this is really important when you're working with your sales and your marketing team, because you've got all the data here. Let's see, dashboards. I promise this is the last thing I'll show you. You can create dashboards that include the data from both teams. So sales and service teams together, you can see open tickets by company. And this really helps sales and service align around the same metrics, have conversations about the deal handoff, etc. So summary is, you know, conversations and tickets, easy to use. It's omni-channel, and then it's connected to the CRM. And that's an example here by having all that data together.
Awesome. Thank you, Gail. That's great. Powering through that demo. It's always hard when you're doing a live demo as well. You can click here, do that whilst talking and learning 3 Oriental languages at the same time. But that was awesome. It's time for our panel discussion. One thing I did like about that as well, I mean, there's a lot of stuff packed in there, but you know, I saw a stat the other day, 91% of unhappy customers will leave your company without complaining. So that real-time survey that you showed before, where you can just at the end of an interaction just say, well, are you happy, middle, or sad, can really help you get on top of these things before obviously people leave without you even knowing that they've left. So jump into Q&A if you haven't already, or chat. We can keep an eye on chat if you prefer to use chat. First question, which is an interesting one. So launching a new product, 3,000 contacts in HubSpot. This is from James, wanting to market this product to these. I'm not sure how Service Hub works from a marketing, or whether that's more of a Marketing Hub question. But how do I integrate this into Service Hub? These contacts, of course, and on where is the contact sales program designed and action from that, etc. Whoever wants to take that one, Gabe or Gail.
To launch a new product and drive interest in sales, what are the comm methods / options, i.e. comms to target customers via email, SMS, other? Okay, yeah. So I mean, to Tony's point there, a lot sort of is in that covered towards the more marketing aspect, I guess. However, like we talked about before, there's no reason why there can be no like a disconnect between the Service Hub and Marketing Hub. I think a lot needs to be looked in there in terms of mapping out what exactly your ideal goals and requirements are for those contacts. I would say that the best place to start off with is obviously by journey mapping, seeing where exactly those 3,000 contacts you want to segregate further on. Do we also have those 3,000 contacts divided into specific personas as well? Can you identify those and tag them as such? Do you know what segments those 3,000 contacts would belong into? So I definitely start off there. In terms of integrating it into Service Hub, then it's then a matter of then deciding amongst those segments what kind of value they would get most out of being contacted via tools from the Service Hub, and deciding from there exactly how to triage them from that point. So yeah, it's a very broad, interesting question, but it definitely requires a lot more like intrinsic planning and discussion. I would highly advise James, if you wanted to talk further on that point, which I'm keen to do, because it sounds like you're all over it in terms of talking about email, SMS, and other forms of communications. I would say jump on that link we shared in the chat there. Give us a buzz, and then we'll talk about further into this in a bit more detail. The link there, as you can see on the screen, is www.freesuccessconsult.com. Myself and Tony are running those consults, so we're happy to talk more in depth onto that. But I hope that gives a little bit more insight into how you could begin to work on that particular question here, James. It is quite a lengthy question, but yeah, it would be worth discussing further.
All right, great. Thanks for jumping on that one. That's and obviously there's an integration between all the hubs. We're focusing on Service Hub today, but even just bolting on Marketing Starter or something like that could do a lot of extra stuff for you. But happy to have a chat about that. Next question. Gail probably wants.
Could I just add?
Yeah, sure.
One thing I would add to that is like the surveys. I think would be really helpful in Service Hub. Because if you're launching a new product, you can get feedback from what your customers think about your product, and then you can guide product development on what those surveys are saying. So, and then create like segments of customers of who to market to, depending on what they're saying in the survey. So I think that's a really good integration between sales and marketing for that use case.
Cool. Well, let's look at the next one from Kamal, which is inbound calling. Of course, a big part of all of the, well, certainly sales is being able to record the calling and all of that kind of stuff. So, is this feature close integration with a contact center via an open API or number of providers pre-tested? What are the constraints? Gabe, I think you were going to jump in, and then Gabe, is that right?
Yeah.
Gabe is going to answer this question.
Thanks for clarifying. Inbound calling, at the moment is, as Gail pointed out, quite new. I myself haven't had much experience in working with like the API connection and whatnot, but maybe it's something more like Gail, if you have any examples of or ideas around how people can be using inbound calling and anything about like an open API that could be utilized.
Yeah, as far as I know, this is an integration with a contact center. So you can leverage inbound calling through HubSpot, but we are using a contact center for the actual calling minutes. So yeah, hopefully that answers the question. And if not, I'm happy to follow up.
Cool. Okay, back to James. Another quick, got a few to get through, so we're going to pump through these in the next 9 minutes, so we finish on time. So when you set up a view, can you do this once to apply over a number of customers and contacts, or do you have to set it up individually for each customer?
Yeah, there is universal settings that yes, you can update the view so that it is consistent across all people using the conversations tool. but you can also have your own individual personal settings. I think as Gail showed there in the demo, you can definitely set up your own view based upon your own filtering options. Correct me if I'm wrong there, Gail.
No, that's right. So like as a service representative, you know, if you and I were both reps, you could have a view for Gabe, I could have a view for Gail, and that's set on different criteria. And depending on how we set it up, it could be applied to all customers or segmented down to just a subset. It just depends on like how you create the criteria and how they answer the questions.
Cool. Okay, thanks for that one.
Yeah.
Next one, Kamal again. If customers sales management is already in Salesforce, who let that person in? That's all right. Friends everywhere. Salesforce CRM. Would Service Hub features, particularly the surveys, work in conjunction with Salesforce?
It's a good question. I mean, it's a very broad question. I know I would need to know a little bit more detail as to what exactly you're referring to, but in essence, I mean, if you're using Salesforce CRM, there are native integrations that exist that you can have between HubSpot and Salesforce, easy. When it comes to conversations, then it'll be either, you know, specific things tied in through HubSpot's API, or you would have to look at sort of custom solutions there. Have you had much experience with that, Gail?
Yeah, I think like it definitely is a broad question. So generally speaking, we have an integration with Salesforce. And then depending on what the exact use case is, that integration would be suitable, or you might do custom work to enhance it.
Cool, thank you both. What does the customer portal provide or do? You kind of touched on it a little bit, but what are some of the other benefits that are packed in there?
Yeah, I think, I mean, this is like a huge self-service benefit. So a good example customers are familiar with is like, if you are checking your airline status, you know, if you're going to fly Delta, or I'm assuming that is good in Australia. Then you might go and like check the status of when your plane is happening, when your airline is taking off, and then if your flight's canceled, maybe you can book another flight, and then you want to check if that ticket is open or closed. So it's a way for the customer to interact with the company without having to actually get on the phone or send an email. You can just see all of your information in its updated status. So it's a self-service tool.
Cool, love it. Okay, anonymous attendee question: can the self-serve customer ticket platform have links to the knowledge base?
Yes.
Can you elaborate on that?
Yes, well, it's not a bad question, honestly, because a lot of people, I think, segregate the two tools a lot of the time. But the ways the updates have been done recently, you could probably talk more to it, Gail, but in essence, it's like, you know, the customer portal and stuff is built upon the Knowledge Hub, the knowledge base, I should say. The knowledge base as well, in terms of linking particular answers and stuff within the conversations tool, is 100% possible as well. It's just about, as well as we spoke about before, having that mapped out particular needs known and presented before each particular user of the conversations tool, to know exactly where to access that particular information and how to. So that's pretty key in having that mapped out beforehand to get the most use out of the tool. But then, yes, the use of the tool itself within conversations using Knowledge Hub or Knowledge Base, I should say. I keep saying Knowledge Hub, but yeah, Knowledge Base, yes, it is usable. Did you want to add anything to that, Gail?
No, I don't think so. I think, yeah, both are self-service tools, and that's like the main business benefit of them, which is just becoming more and more important because folks want to do things on their own time.
I think as well, and just to divert a little bit on knowledge base, is that it actually does a lot more than people think it does in terms of your company profile online, your domain status, all that kind of stuff. It actually affects a lot of different things. So we talked about before how Service Hub obviously houses the knowledge base, but in essence as well, like if you have it and use it for just online on your website as a directory point, and directing people there, not only through the website, but through Google searches and, you know, even through social when you're posting and sharing Knowledge Hub, knowledge base articles, then in essence, it's helping as well affect your business in terms of getting more traffic and therefore, you know, a better domain status on your company website. So, you know, it does affect through marketing, sales, and it can be used for service. So a knowledge base is definitely a great tool across all the hubs.
So just, I mean, one of the things I like, we've covered off obviously with Service Hub and the demo, is one of my earlier slides at the very beginning was 66% of customers expect companies to understand their needs. I think what we've shown today is Service Hub allows you to do that with that conversations intelligence, and then being able to put things through to, you know, live questions that you might want to ask other people that are online, similar to like a Slack process. Gail, just a question for you. HubSpot generally comes in different tiering levels. So maybe just give us a quick intro if folks on the call haven't started and want to start with Service Hub. What are the two levels like? What do you get in the elementary level, and obviously what do you get in the advanced?
I would say most of the functionality I showed is in that pro tier, which is the middle level. So that's $500 a month, the starting price. And that includes the customer portal, the feedback surveys, the help desk automation. So like, that's generally our most robust tool. And at Starter, what you can get is the conversations inbox and something called simple automation, which is a minimal form of automation. So just like if I am a customer and I send in a ticket, the company automatically sends a response saying, hey, we received your ticket. But any other automation on top of that, you'd want the pro tier.
Cool, that's good to know. And yeah, if you want to discuss anything, don't forget the freesuccessconsult.com. Happy to answer any questions that you may have that you didn't put into the Q&A. But we're right on the nose at midday Sydney time. So a quick thank you to Gabe McCarthy, who's our marketing strategist from our Sydney office. And especially to you, Gail Wheaton, calling us from, what is it now, 9 p.m, ready to, the kids I think are already in bed, time for you to head down as well. But really appreciate you joining us live from Boston.
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much.
And thanks to everybody for joining in. Look forward to our next ANZ Sales Enablement Hug. Keep an eye on your inbox and we'll let you know what our topic of discussion will be. But thanks, everybody. Have a great day wherever you are in the world.
Bye. Thank you.
Hi, everyone.